Welcome back to today's episode. We're talking about Squid Game, the challenge. It's a show that takes 456 people from around the world and makes them compete for $4.56 million.
When I saw the trailer to this, I thought that they were way too late.
I thought you were going to say it looked very familiar. You've seen Squid Game, the original 2021 series, right?
Yes.
All right, the full thing?
Yes, I saw all 9
episodes. So you know
episodes.
how it ended?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great.
But I know that Mr. Beast in November of 2021 came out with like a 25-minute video where he recreated all the sets of Squid Game. He had 456 players, and then the winner got $456,000. It's such a big video, it has its own Wikipedia page, and it's actually the third result when you type in Squid Game Reality Wikipedia. But this just seems like they were taking that 25-minute video where, again, he recreated all the sets back when the show actually came out, and then 2 years later, they're doing the same exact thing, just slapping Netflix on the title and releasing it there.
I don't think he had any rights to the Squid Game. It's Netflix's...
No, I'm not. I'm saying what is different about that video where they did the tug of war, the cookie, red light, green light, and the one where they have to jump on glass to see what breaks. And
other than like $4 million?
Yes, because $4.56 million for Netflix. This is actually the most that a TV show.
I've never heard of a reality TV series giving away this much. Just
this is
in
the
one
highest.
go.
This is the highest prize.
You look at the circle; they give away like $100,000, $200,000. I'm thinking back to what was the one with the mole? Wasn't that like less than $1 million as well? I think of the wall. Maybe the possibilities if the balls were to fall into the $1 million slot a bunch of times, maybe you could get up to a few million.
This is the largest cash prize in TV history.
Okay, so the person who wins this gets to walk away by themselves with all that money. Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Well, we've already met a ton of them, but the first game that it starts off with is the same one from the TV show, the original.
It's
Red
the
Light,
name
Green Light.
of the episode.
Yes, but we're done with it in the first 15, 16, 17 minutes, and then you're down to like 100 some contestants. Yes.
Wait, 300 people get out with the Red Light, Green Light?
I said 100 some, so I think it's like 190 or something are left by the end, and then they all go to the cots, and for the next 30 minutes they get to know each other, and it's the same sort of bunk bed setup that's in Squid Game.
You know, they bought the creator from Squid Game. He visited the bunk bed setup and said that it was so much like the original series that he felt like since they're doing season 2, he has to up the ante because of how good they were able to recreate the set.
I thought that they had most of the set designers and the production team from the original Squid Game because the biggest pro for this show is it looks practically identical. The Red Light, Green Light game, the statue of the girl is a little bit smaller, and obviously she doesn't turn around and shoot you. Do you know how they get rid of the contestants? I
think that there's like something in their chest that pops, right?
Yeah, it's like one of those Hollywood blood bags, you know?
And that was the same thing that happened in the Mr. Beast video.
Okay, but this is pretty cool. It's like right next to their collar, and it's next to the mic that they have, because I think everybody's mic'd. The one thing about the Red Light, Green Light game that I didn't understand was how exactly they were able to tell who was moving afterwards. It was one thing to suspend your disbelief for the television show, and they could also show you where the people messed up. In this, it was like, I don't think they had enough cameras, or they didn't spend enough time really proving that the people who were getting eliminated actually deserve to get eliminated.
So we can just jump into the controversy right away if you want to.
The controversy, other than the fact that this show is propagating the exact thing that the original show was trying to advocate against, which is that the rich are making way too much money and also taking advantage of people, and kind of like with Death Race, enjoying the fact that they are all torturing themselves. That is kind of what's happening here.
That's what the negative reviews said about the show, but I'm talking about just Red Light, Green Light, the very damning reports that came out in February on the Rolling Stones that said that Red Light, Green Light took 9 hours in a freezing airport hangar where people were unable to move for 30-minute stretches, with medics rushing to tend to people who were unable to take the extreme cold. In fact, there were multiple people that passed out during it, and then there were even reports that executives told more people, like the guards that are dressed in the mask with the triangle and circles, to come out there to try and cover the cameras. Also,
you're going to have to break that down a little bit, because there's 5 minutes on the clock. The game's supposed to take 5 minutes. All the contestants walked in, and then are you saying that the clock stops every time they freeze it, or what?
Yeah, when it's red light, that's when the clock is supposed to not count down.
I think the clock keeps going or at least the way they cut it made it seem as if the clock was still going.
This took 9 hours of film. I think that the clock
So the people were on the grounds for 9 hours.
Yes.
Like running across that.
Some unable to move for 30 minutes. There was even a time when they did it for 7 seconds, and then it stopped again, and they had to wait a full 30 minutes. People were passing out, and not only that, they were saying that the game was rigged because multiple people were able to make it to the end of the finish line. Who were able to make the end of the finish line. They made it, and then they still were out by the end.
Huh. Okay. Well, the interesting thing about the way that the reality television works is obviously nothing you see is real. But there was one lady in particular who was nearly at the end, and she was squatting, and then she like turned to the camera, or she says like, because you can still move your mouth, even if you're and not get kicked out. And she was like, "Why did I squat?" And then like 2 seconds later, she's like, "I can't do this," and then she fell over, but like did it on her. She actually sat down on her own free will, and you were like, "What the heck? If she only had to wait like a minute, why would she do that?" And so apparently you're saying that she actually was sitting there for like 30 minutes and that's why she ended up having to lose?
And
Weird.
People were saying, contestants were saying it was so bad with the rigging that they felt like they were given dummy microphones, and that the people who were already kind of pre-selected to win were given actual microphones.
Huh. Yeah, I would buy that. That would be the biggest controversy for me, because it did feel like they go for the sap stories, or the ones that they think the producers can turn into really cool storylines.
And it's not great, because I did audition for the show when they came out in September 2022 saying that hundreds of people have already auditioned and you should be one of them. I did send in.
Did you think you were
audition
auditioning for the original Squid Game show though? Like that you would be co-starring with the rest of the... Oh, no, so you actually knew it was...
I knew it was the reality challenge, or the challenge, but I just wanted to see if I was going to be able to get in. Apparently over 80,000 people auditioned, but they really chose just a lot of influencers from like TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, interesting. So that's how you needed to... Did you advertise the podcast when you went in?
No.
That would have worked. That would have gotten you in. I did want to go back. I never got the chance to check on the first episode to see how many people were eliminated in the original show.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
But I think it would probably be in line with this, about half the contestants, maybe. One part that's different from this show than the original show is that they have this thing where they will pull out a couple members, and then they will give them like a prisoner's dilemma type choice, where they're like, you can choose to eliminate someone or also help someone, and it'll be an anonymous decision and no one will ever know. But then those people walk back inside the room, and since everybody's aware that like challenge exists, everybody knows that they're the ones who chose that thing. And so later on, when they find out like, hey, they chose to eliminate someone, everybody turns to those people and they're like, what the hell, man? That type of issue. That happened in The Circle too. Remember, there was supposed to be an anonymous feature of like who was able to get rid of one profile or
copy a profile.
Copy a profile and then like screw over someone else. And then everybody immediately knew who it was. It didn't help that the two people that they chose to pick went really drastic with their overreactions when someone else got eliminated. Like, oh man, that sucks. Like what? So yeah, you do get those personal, but then at the very end, that's when the show gets good. So
wait, so the show actually has a turning point?
Well, it's not that it's a turning point. It's just that we get to the game that felt legit, because at the very end, they bring them to the room, the team making room, if you remember, and they all get into 4 categories, and you realize then that they're going to be doing the cookie game, right? The one where they have to like lick the back of it in order to cut it through.
There's the circle, the star, the umbrella, one other one.
And then the square?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, I just saw the show. So then, the interesting thing is that the people at the front of each line, because there's 4 lines, they go into the one room with the actual cookies, where those usually are, and they're the ones who have to fight out for their whole line who's going to get what cookie.
And no one wants the umbrella, right?
Wants the umbrella. Absolutely no one. To the point where the challenge is at the very beginning for these 4 people that are televised for everybody else, that they, by the end of 2 minutes, have to make a decision as to where everybody goes. And they're not unable to do so. It's up to like the first 3 find their things, and then the other one just doesn't want to go over there. You know, like they and so then they all get eliminated.
Wait, all 4
instantly?
Of them?
Yes, because they didn't complete the challenge. So then the next 4 are invited in, and this is what's really cool. As far as a mental game, that was actually a really cool way to bring it, like, because that wasn't from the original show, and it was also something pretty creative, and then they left you off on a cliffhanger, because that group also seemed very hesitant to go towards the umbrella. Every line was like really committed towards telling them not to do it. And so I think there is a guy who seemed like he ultimately was going to take the umbrella, but we don't learn that until next episode.
Do you know how many characters or how many people had seen Squid Game?
Everyone
Everyone knew. I'm wondering what the difference was, and you just kind of answered it with the ending of the first episode, because this is supposed to be 10 episodes, but the original series, again, came out in 2021, is 9 episodes, so there has to be more content that they're doing.
And it's also insane that it took so long for them to do the red light, green light game, but then for them to label the first episode red light, green light, and then only have it take 10 minutes. It was like they realized they screwed up and they tried to get through it as quickly as possible when they showed the show itself. And then you also get a chance to learn in those 30 minutes, like the different people. I'm not going to go through them all, but there was like a mom and son team. There's like these 2 guys who have mullets. Originally, one of them had a best friend, but the best friend got eliminated during the middle of the challenge. There's one guy who pulled what they did in Squid Game, which is when they brought out the food for everybody. He went back in line and he took more food. The thing is that in the original show, once he did that, he was actually taking away from someone else. Mm-hmm. In this, I think legally they weren't able to do that. So everybody ended up getting fed, and I was able to see that. But some of the people, you wouldn't know that from the cutaways, because every cutaway said the people were like, "Hey, he's just taking away someone's food." And
the people were mad about that because they were like, "This is obviously setting up a villain story arc."
Yes, plenty of villains. There's like a couple of them.
They even recognize someone named Stooks. Do you know about that person? He was a former basketball player that apparently is in the TV show.
Is he the guy who always does push-ups? Is he 432? He's also supposed to be a bad guy. But the interesting thing is the people who were cutting carrots, one is named Kyle and the girl, they were having a regular chat, and then that's when they were given the opportunity to eliminate someone. And I think the guy's name was like Mohi, and the reason they chose to eliminate him was because he was trying to be nice to everybody. And so
one of those people.
No, he was actually being nice to everybody. He just didn't. And then at the very end, they got rid of him, and he was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to win this for my daughter," and stuff. And it was really, really sad. They could have gone for one of the jerks, one of the bros, because there are a lot of those.
So why did they turn on Moshi if he was being nice to everyone?
They went through like 3 different sets of options, and they looked at the jerks and they looked at the other people, and they were just like, "This guy's the most biggest competitor, I guess." So then they end up having the person who's like stealing food stays there, the person who's like arranging a bro crew and who's like just doing push-ups all the time, he's there, 432. And then you've got other people there's like an old guy there who just turned 69 or says he turned 69, and he's faking being like dumber than he is. But a lot of people are doing that.
But that is almost like the old person in Squid Game.
You think? You don't think they realized that when they cast him or whatever, when they took his audition? I mean, I assume that that's the exact reason why they did it.
I know that they shot in London, the original shot in South Korea, but was the only game that was different that you've seen so far the one where the kind of the cookie thing that you were talking about?
Well, I told you the elimination thing is completely different. It didn't really feel fair either. I know that the original game didn't feel fair, but it also felt like just so random, like the person didn't do anything to get eliminated, versus in the games they at least give you the slightest bit of a chance. Like it's not just all luck.
So how much of the show is actually entertaining? Like, is this junk food entertainment, or is this just
I told you the ending, because of the prisoner's dilemma thing and watching people realize that they only have 1 minute and that if none of them take the umbrella, they're all going to lose. But if any of them take the umbrella, then they're going to face all their rest of their team who survive are forever for the rest of the game going to vilify them, and they're probably the next ones out. You would not want to be near the front of that line. And so I think that was really interesting. The thing that I don't like is that there are rules that must be in place. This isn't the case for all reality shows, because people aren't allowed to kill each other. They're not allowed to attack each other. But we're never told that. Not that we have to be told that, but in the original Squid Game, I don't think that's a thing. Right?
I think there was even an episode where they like start attacking people inside the corridor with the bunk beds,
and they don't really stop it. Like they almost encourage it by not stopping it. Those red guys do, right? In this, they have to be very like careful about who they've cast and stuff. I'm sure they've had interviews and they've said, "Hey, so this is what's allowed and this is what's not allowed. You're allowed to play sneaky, but you're not allowed to ever hurt someone. You're immediately disqualified, and then you have to go through all these legal stuff." But it's just weird how we don't see any of that.
They had multiple casting directors and multiple interviews. They said usually a TV show only has one, but with 80,000 different people, they kind of had to hire a lot of people. Who was number 456? Who was the last one in the show?
I don't think there was like any They went through so many, but I don't think they showed us who 456 was.
So there's no main character.
They started by showing us these interviews kind of 3% style. Remember that show 3%?
Yes.
Which is making fun of reality television in its own right. And what happens is they go in for an interview, and then you have to explain why you're deserving of going into this challenge. And if you win that challenge, then you go to this really elite place. That's sort of what they do at the beginning. There's this warden or not warden, but someone who works at a prison, and she's talking about how she's going to change her life with this money, and then she immediately gets eliminated in the red light, green light challenge. So I did find how that type of stuff was funny. I think as the show goes on and people get eliminated, they're going to give you like false leads, like, hey, you should follow this person, and then they'll kill them off real quickly, and then otherwise, I think like the mom son team and then the 432 guy, I think like those are the ones that they're setting up to stay for a while.
So overall, what would you give the show?
As far as like whether or not I'd recommend it, because it's got such a huge amount of money that like someone's going to win at the end, I am curious to see who's going to walk away with it, because that would be the craziest story. I saw a show on Netflix, and then I applied not as a reality show to be part of the reality show that's based on that show. Won $4 million from it, and now I'm just loaded. I would probably give the rating a 4 out of 10 or something, yeah.
A 4 out of 10, so it doesn't pass.
Just below average for me.
That's actually very close to the IMDb score, which is a 4.2 out of 10. It has around 2,000 reviews. The critics score has actually been higher than the audience for Rotten Tomatoes, with a 42%. The audience score is a 24%. Comparing that to the actual Squid Game from 2021, that has an 8 on IMDb with a close to 510,000 reviews, and then critics score 95%, audience score 84%.
But I will say that because of the amount of money that is on the line and the amount of production that went into it, they have shrinks on staff too. I saw that in the credits. It's just it's a funny thing that ended up happening. It also says something about our society. I'm sure that you could write articles and look at how like kind of hypocritical it is. I'm surprised that the showrunner of the original was like so on board to check out this one.
He visited the site along with the actor who played 199 in the show and kind of gave it their best wishes, but I don't think they had anything to do with the making of it.
Yeah.
And there's two people, multiple participants are actually threatening to sue Netflix due to the inhumane working conditions. So that might be more of a story as we go on. But yeah, it just comparing it to the actual Squid Game from 2021.
Someone was asked in this episode, like, and I don't know if they were giving the real reason, but like one of the contestants asked another contestant, like, hey, if you were given $100,000 just to leave right now, would you? And they were like, no, I'm going to stay here for the $4 million. And it was like, I would definitely have left in that first day, especially after what you're saying they had to go through for the first challenge.
That's 1/5 of what Mr. Beast was giving away in his video for the top winner.
I don't think Mr. Beast is the one to compare this to, but did you end up liking that video? Was that a good video?
I mean, yeah.
Would you recommend that before this?
They still had the similar sentiment about it being a lack of awareness and making a show that was critiquing the very idea of fame, wealth, and society, but it's shorter and it's 25 minutes.
But you know, the 456 people that they pulled from are just kind of like, it's just fun for them. Like, they weren't actually there for multiple days, were they?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They were, here...
This feels more serious.
They were here... here they were there for 15 days. For the Mr. Beast video, they were only there, I think, for 1 day.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that was just a fun little day out for those people who participated.
Yes.
Anyways, not much else to say about this show. It's kind of clear when you watch the trailer what you're getting, and I give it a 4 out of 10. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.